Welcome back. This next set of videos is going to be on the aircraft, and the one I'm going to concentrate right now is the ground attack aircraft. Later on in the videos, I'm going to talk about the air observation post, or the AOP. So this next set of videos, I'm going to talk just about the ground attack aircraft, and I decided to kind of split it up into kind of like I did with the shooting. I'm going to split this up into three parts. The first part is just how do you bring in the aircraft, and how does the opponent destroy the aircraft, or if the opponent brings in the aircraft, how do you destroy it? The second set is how does the aircraft hit? How does it range in? How do you place the template, and how do you roll the hit? Third video will be like allocating the hits and the results of those hits. So that's my plan for these three videos on the ground attack aircraft. How do you get an aircraft in your army list? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of my books, which the Blood, Guts, and Glory, and we're going to look at Tank Company. And down here, well, you can see the AOP, but here we got air support. So it says air support, and it says on page 48. So if we go to page 48, and there's our aircraft. There's a nice little one of the Thunderbolt here, which is that one right there. And so if we look at the Thunderbolt, they have what's called priority and limited. And you see priority is 190 and the limited is 150. And you get one little plane. And they also got the option of establish close air support for plus 25 points. So we'll get to that about this. Okay, so you're wondering, well, why priority or limited? What's going on here? Well, if you get an aircraft, there's three different supports you can get. There's the priority, which we just saw. There's the limited, and there's sporadic. And basically it's talking how many dice do you get to try to bring the aircraft in. Or sporadic, it's not the worst, but it's next to the worst. Priority is the best. So let's start with the best. Alright, so priority air support is 7 dice. You get to roll 7 dice to try to bring in your aircraft if the rules allow, because there's some like first turn no aircraft allowed. So you be careful of that. Don't break that rule. But to bring in your aircraft, you're going to roll all those dice and any 5 or 6. And, yeah, there it is. Okay, I got a 5. I got 2 5s actually, but that doesn't matter. I just need 1 5 or 6. I got 2. It's just as if I rolled 1. They all came up 5 or 6. It's as if I rolled 1. So I got 1 success. That means I'm able to bring in my aircraft into the game. Okay, so that's priority. What about limited? Well, when you think about these dice, think odd numbers. We have 7. Now we're going to go down to 5. So you're going to have to roll 5 dice trying to get a 5 or a 6. A little bit harder. And how'd I do? We're going to count that as a 5. So I would have been successful. Remember, it just takes 1 5 or 6. So if priority 7, and we took away 2 dice to go limited, so think about how many sporadic would be. Odd number, take away 2, we got 3 dice. Woo! 3 dice to try to get a 5 or a 6. Oh, my first one, I did it. I don't know what's going on with my dice today being cocked. I normally don't have that problem. So that's what it means by the 3 levels. There's one more level and I'll get to that one. So there's priority. And again, this does not apply to this aircraft, okay? This is a little different. The AOP, this is a little different situation. This is applying to our ground attack aircraft. I'm going to put that out there. So our ground attack aircraft, we can have priority air support for 7, limited for 5, or sporadic for 3. And you're going, well, how in the world can it get worse? 1 die? No. If you don't buy any air, you don't get any dice. That means you can't roll for the aircraft. That means you don't get an aircraft. So you have to pay points for the aircraft. So that's the worst one, is no dice. Okay. So that's talking about that. So let's go back and look at this. So it says priority or limited. Do I want 7 dice or do I want 5 dice? Well, 7 dice is going to be a little more expensive. 5 dice a little cheaper. Maybe I can't afford that more expensive one. I really do want the airplane because I can hit things that are kind of hidden from, you know, I can go behind enemy lines kind of in a way. So maybe I'll go the 5 dice route, or maybe I'll go to 7. Or there's some that you get 3. This doesn't have the choice of 3 dice. This is my only choice. So you kind of have to go with what you got. And it tells me it's a P-47 Thunderbolt. So what we're going to do is, let's look at what this P-47 Thunderbolt, which is what this aircraft is, let's see what this aircraft can do. Alright, looking at the book, I'm going to go to my arsenal, and there's aircraft. So if we look, P-47 Thunderbolt, it's got machine guns, 2-hit 2+, anti-tank 6, firepower 5+, and then bombs 4+, 4+ to hit, anti-tank 5, and firepower 1+. Wow, 1+ firepower, awesome. Means if they fail their test, it's automatically destroyed. Okay. So I just wanted to show you, you can see where the stat line is. We'll go into the stat line when we go into the hitting part, when you're trying to hit the targets. So I just wanted you to let you know where it was. So you go to your list here. I'll get back to my tank company. And it'll tell you whether or not you can get an aircraft. This one's, oh, I can get an aircraft. It's going to tell you the page. You go to that page. It's going to tell you what kind of aircraft you can get and how many dice. And then how much it's going to cost, depending upon how many dice. So that's how you read that. So we're going to move on to the next thing, which is we rolled for our air support. Okay, so here's our aircraft. We get 7 dice. Woohoo! We're going to roll, and we're going to hope for a 5 or 6. It's not guaranteed. Oh, look at that. 5, a 6. I had 2 successes, but remember, 2 successes, same as 1 success. It's a yes or no. Did I get a 5 or 6? Yeah, I got a 5 or 6. Like this one, I got 3 6s and a 5. Did you get a 5 or 6? Yes. Didn't ask for how many. It just, how did you get one? Yeah. So that means, yes, I get my aircraft. Now, you can decide for that turn not to bring in your aircraft. There might be a reason why you don't want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. Oh, and I should have said this too. To bring in the aircraft, it's in the starting step. So again, I said I was going to start talking more about the starting step, but I need to set up some things. This is one of those things I have to set up, is to bring in your aircraft. And if we look at the starting step here, so sole surviving, I talked about that. Company morale, I talked about that. Victory condition, we haven't talked about that, but ambushes, roll for air support. There it is. This is the time you're going to roll. You're going to have to decide, do you want to bring in your air support? If you don't, you go on. If you do, make the roll to see if they come in. So it's during your starting step, you're going to see if you get that aircraft to come in. Alright, so we were successful. We rolled our dice. We were successful to bring that aircraft in. Now, it may be that we don't get that many aircraft coming in. We have the, not the option, I was about to say the option, but we have the opportunity to have 1, 2, or 3 planes come in. Now, you only need 1 model. So don't think, oh my gosh, I need 3 planes. No, you just need 1 model. There's a way that you're going to show that you have 3 airplanes coming in for this attack. Now, the more planes you have coming in, the better it is for you, the worse it is for the opponent. Or vice versa. It would be, if they have 3 planes coming in, boy, they're going to kind of they're going to have a better chance of inflicting more damage on you than if they only had 1 aircraft coming in. Now, you're kind of saying, well, how do I get 3 aircrafts? I don't want 1. Do I have to pay for it? No. What you do is you roll a die. And there's a special die here. As you see, there's 1 aircraft. There's 2. And somewhere on here, there it is, there's 3. And if you don't have one of these dice, it's 1 and 2. So there's 2 spaces on here. That is 1. 3, 4, 5, or 2, and there's only one space, that would be like rolling a 6, is 3 aircraft. So when you get your aircraft to come in, you're going to roll for how many you get. So let's see how many I get. I get 1. Great. And you're just going to put it on there. That way, see, you don't have to buy all the models. You have 1. If you have 2 aircrafts, you can't, some people do. For aesthetic or something like that, you can have 2 models. If you want to, you can do that. But I just bought the 1 plane. That's what I'm going to keep. And I got 2 aircraft here showing. So there's actually another plane here. And then if you're lucky enough, you can get 3 aircraft and you put the 3 down. So that's how you show, well, actually how you roll, and then that's how you show how many aircraft you get. Now, if you remember, I'm just going to go over this rule since it's in my mind right now. Back at the Arsenal with the Thunderbolt, actually it's not the Arsenal, it's back where you looked at the points. Remember this says establish close air support for plus 25 points. What is that? Well, what that allows me to do, or whoever is playing this, allows them to roll this twice and take the best result. So I can go, do I want, it's cocked. Do I want 1 aircraft? Ooh, I'd be stuck with that 1 aircraft. Or 3. Well, look at that, boy. Would I want 1 aircraft or 3? 3. So that's what the priority aircrafts, priority support's going to give for you, is you get to roll that twice and take the best result. Boy, that was a big switch from 1 plane to 3. So we rolled dice to bring him in. If we're successful, we roll this to see how many we get. And if you have that close air support, roll that twice and take the best result. Of course, you have to pay the extra points for it. It isn't free. Now, your opponent's going, ugh, I hate your aircraft. I don't like your aircraft. I want to get rid of your aircraft. So how do they do that? Well, after you're done rolling, they can decide on your turn. This is still your turn. This is still in the starting step. You rolled for your aircraft. We haven't done anything else with it. They see you're getting aircraft. They have to have purchased an aircraft for their army. So if they did not purchase an aircraft, they cannot do this. So they purchased an aircraft. Now, normally you wouldn't put the model down like this against that one and stuff like that. I'm just doing this for demonstration. So the German player says, wow, I do not want to see that aircraft come in this turn, because with 3 planes, oh boy, I just see a bunch of tanks getting blown up. So what he's going to do is he's going to roll how many ever dice he has. And let's say he's down to 5. So he's got the limited support. He does not have the priority support. He's got the limited support. So he's going to get to 5 dice. And instead of needing, remember you needed 5 or 6s to bring him in. You have to get 6s here. 1 6, it's all you need, is just 1 6. So you're going to roll, and I'm going to scoot these back a little bit, or maybe a little further apart. Oh no! I guess he already took it out. Oh, it's back. Boy, if we had something like that in World War II that just fell down like that and then came back up, boy, we would be invincible. Oh, well, maybe not. There we go. All right. So, he's going to roll, and do you see a 6? I do not see a 6. So, he did not stop the aircraft coming in. Now, let's pretend. I'm going to try one more time. I'm not going to pretend. I'm going to roll it. I'm going to roll it, and I'm going to be oh my gosh. Last time, otherwise I'm going to fake it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so he got a 6. He's got 2 6s. Remember, just 1 success. So what that means is, if he is successful on that, it's called fighter intercept. I do not get to bring the plane in. They're out there dogfighting each other. Yeah. But you can never destroy. Remember, platoons get destroyed and they're gone for the rest of the game. This is never gone for the rest of the game. Even though he came in and they're dogfighting and it may get shot down and stuff like that, other planes come in. So you never lose the airplane for the game. So you could also do fighter intercept. I'm just doing this example as a German player trying to intercept you. So let's say the German player was rolling these dice and he has 5. And, oh, there's a 5. So his plane comes in. He doesn't have the priority, so he rolls. Oh, he's got 3 aircraft coming in. Oh, I'm not wanting that. So I'm going to take my dice, and let's say I only have limited air support. And I did not get a 6. So guess what? His plane is coming in to attack me. Now, let's pretend. I'm going to be good about this. Seems like it's the 3rd roll. Is it going to be the 3rd roll again? No. Okay, so I'm going to fake it. There we go. So I got a 6. That means he does not get to bring in his aircraft that turn. But I can never destroy the possibility of him bringing a plane in. I could try to stop him that turn, but then he can try again next turn, and I can try to stop him if I want to. Okay. Same with you. You never lose your aircraft that way. Now, there are some aircrafts that are called fighter intercept only. And that means that's all it does is that needs to roll a 6. So let's say it's the very, very sporadic air support. And this one only has fighter intercept. That player does not roll dice on the starting step to bring this plane in. All that plane's going to do is to prevent the opponent from bringing their plane in. So let's see. Oh, there's a 6. 3 dice. I might as well just roll 3 dice instead of 5. I could probably roll 20 dice and not get a 6, and if I roll 1 die, I'd probably get a 6. So I rolled 3 dice and got a 6, so that means this plane is not available. That is all that if it's a fighter intercept only aircraft, that's all it's going to do. Let me clear these off for the next example. Alright, so we were successful in bringing in the aircraft. I haven't placed it yet. There was no fighter intercept. And I got, 3 aircrafts. So I'm going to mark that there. Now, where can you put the aircraft? You have to go within 4 inches of your intended target. So you have to be within 4 inches of who you're going to place the template on. And what I mean by the template is that artillery template, that 6x6 that the artillery uses. The airplane uses the same template. So you're going to want to center this on your target. So who is this airplane going to target? Could it be the infantry here? It's King Tiger, Stug. It could be multiples if they fall underneath the template. It's like the artillery. Who's ever underneath that template could possibly be hit. So there is a few rules about where you cannot place the aircraft. One of them is I can't place the aircraft on a building. I can't place the aircraft on top of any other model, including my own. I cannot have it stop, just like tanks can't stop on linear terrain. The airplane cannot stop on linear terrain, so it has to be on this side or that side. And as far as buildings, and this is my woods here. Oh no, timber! Something blew up there. So here's the woods, here's the building. The airplane, see, I can fit in there. I'm not on top of any model. But the rule is the center of the stand cannot be within 2 inches of a building or 2 inches of woods. So let's see if I am okay here. So I'm going to bring my handy dandy 2 inches and let's see. Oh no, I don't know. It's so hard to do. You know what? I am clear. Look at that. I am clear. What about this side? I am clear on that side too. So I'm okay there. So just remember, not on buildings. Can't even be within 2 inches of a building anyway, so it wouldn't fly on top of it. And that's the center of the stand to woods or building. And not on top of linear terrain, and not on top of any model. So if there was that Stug there, there's no way I can go there. So that's how you place, and it depends upon who you're trying to hit. So if I want to hit like this infantry and try to get some of these tanks, I might set it there and face who I'm going to be shooting. And actually, I'm going to center it. I want to shoot this and get some of these other things. Now, if you notice, I'm not within 2 inches of building. I'm not top of anybody. I'm not top of linear terrain. I can be right there, right next to him if I want to. I just have to be within 4 inches of the model. And kind of facing who I want. And that hole in the center here is going to go on that target. Also, I want to say, when you're looking at within 4 inches, ignore the stand. Use the airplane. Are you within 4 inches of the airplane model, not the stand? The only thing the stand is used for is, are you within 2 inches of a building or woods? That's the only time you're going to use that stand. All right. I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to get set up for the next section. I was going to go over it, and I forgot. There's one important thing. Remember how, like, priority limited, sporadic, so many dice? That doesn't last the whole game. So it isn't, woo, I get 7 dice every turn. It's every time you roll, successful or not. This time, I was successful. You lose 1 die. Now I'm down to 6 dice. Next turn, I want to bring in my aircraft. I'm going to have to roll only these 6 dice. I was still successful. I lose another die. Now I'm down to 5 dice. Move this back a little bit. Now I'm down to the limited. So I roll. Successful. I'm still going to lose a die. But I get to bring my plane in. Now I'm down to 4 dice. Next turn. Successful. Wow, that's pretty good, actually. I'm down to 3 dice now. Next turn. Failed. Now, I don't keep 3 dice because I failed. Successful or not, I lose a die. Now I'm down to 2. I was successful. Successful or not, lose a die. I'm down to 1. Successful, don't lose a die. Failed, don't lose a die. You always get to keep 1 die. So I forgot to put that in there, but that is very important. That every time you roll those dice, you permanently lose 1 for that game. Except for you never go below 1 die. You always get 1. Now, he brings in his. So he's got the limited. And yes, he was successful. So he's going to lose a die. And I am down to 5 dice. And I want to do a fighter intercept. I need a 6. That was cocked. Oh, I got a 6. I kept away. Successful or not, I still lose a die. Because I made that bringing in the aircraft roll. So whether you're rolling to bring your aircraft in or rolling to intercept, successful or not, your dice pool goes down by 1. So just keep that in mind. It isn't 7 dice and you're like, whoa, I like that 7 dice. Eventually, if you keep going and going, it's going to be down to 1 die. But it takes you longer to get down to 1 die compared to starting with sporadic. Doesn't take you very long to get down to 1 die, and you need a 5 or a 6. So I was an important rule. I was going to bring it up, and I forgot before I got this far. All right, now let me get set up for the next part. Okay, the German player got their airplane in. Ooh, but they got their plane in. So they decide they're going to set the template down on the infantry here. So the template's going to be placed center on them, and you're going to see kind of like who's under it. But is there another way to destroy this aircraft before it does its damage? Yeah, there is. And that's if you have things that have anti-aircraft. And one of the ways you tell is, I'm going to bring up the arsenal here. So let's look here. 50 caliber AAMG. AA means anti-aircraft. So this is an anti-aircraft machine gun. This is also, when it says just AAMG, that is a self-defense anti-aircraft, which you'll hear about in just a little bit. What is the self-defense? So just remember, if it says AAMG, doesn't spell out anti-aircraft, it just says AAMG, that is also what's considered a self-defense anti-aircraft. Now, let's go back over here to where we have what's called anti-aircraft, and look at that. They spell it out, anti-aircraft. It's not AAMG like this one says AA. This one actually is spelled out. And that is a true anti-aircraft weapon. And it's going to come into play in a little bit. And there are some that are like a heavy anti-aircraft. So there's 3 different types of anti-aircraft. There's the one that's spelled out, anti-aircraft, like that. There's the abbreviated AAMG, which is anti-aircraft machine gun, but this means self-defense. And then there may be one that says, and I couldn't find an example in my group here, but heavy anti-aircraft. Those are the only weapons that can shoot at an aircraft once it's in. Now there are a few limitations. If your anti-aircraft is being towed at the moment. So let's pretend that for some reason, like this is like an 88, let's just pretend, and it's being transported around, it does not get to shoot. It's the men are in here or another transport, their gun's not down, locked and ready to go. It's being pulled somewhere. So if your anti-aircraft is being towed, you can't shoot it. Also, you have to have line of sight to the target. Well, if we look here, we know these have AAMGs, or self-defense anti-aircraft, on them at the top. These guys have nothing. So they can't even, they can shoot the rifles at the plane, but it's going to do nothing. So don't even roll. These guys are my anti-aircraft, but they're behind the building where they can't see the plane. They do not have line of sight to the plane. Now, if he was over here, yeah, you can see the plane and shoot it, but he's behind the building trying to get some cover, and then the opponent came in and says, I'm going to put my aircraft right there, and now your anti-aircraft can't shoot it. So you do have to have line of sight. If you do have line of sight, not only do you get their normal range, but you get to add 8 inches to it to see if you can hit the aircraft. So they could be way over here. If their normal range is 16, well, if you add 8 to that, their range is 24 inches now to try to knock that aircraft down. So you have to have line of sight. Also, if you're shooting through smoke, smoke is kind of nasty. If you're shooting through smoke at the aircraft, even if you're within 16 inches of the aircraft, you can't shoot it. So if you're shooting through smoke, you can't shoot the aircraft. Now, there could be, so they're shooting through the smoke, can't shoot it, they're right up against the smoke. But let's say they're up on a hill, well, they're shooting over the smoke. Now they can shoot the aircraft because they're not shooting through the smoke, they're actually shooting over the smoke. Smoke's only that high. Here, they were right up against it, they're shooting through that smoke to shoot that aircraft. Oh yeah, I hope I said it. Just make sure that you are in range, your weapon's in range of the aircraft. If you only have, let's say that one, it was going 24 inches, normally 16, but it's going 24 inches against the aircraft, and it's 25 inches away, it can't shoot the aircraft. So the aircraft does still have to be in line of sight, just like anything else. It has to be in line of sight, and it has to be in the range of your weapon. Now there's one thing I do want to talk about, and that's the AAMGs. Those self-defense anti-aircraft. These guys can shoot at the aircraft, period, if it's in range, in line of sight. The AAMGs is going to be limited. The only reason they would get to shoot at the aircraft is if one of their team members is under this template. So if it's positioned just right, that, let's say the shot goes here, well, none of those Shermans are underneath that template, so that means they cannot shoot their anti-aircraft. If that Sherman gets underneath it, now they can shoot their anti-aircraft at that plane. So just remember that AAMG has that limitation that's called self-defense. If they're not being attacked, they're not going to shoot. If they're being attacked, they're going to shoot that. If you want to. You have the choice. But you don't have the choice If they're not underneath the template, you can't. So just keep that in mind with self-defense anti-aircraft. Now you're probably wondering, great, I'm going to shoot anti-aircraft every turn, then, so they don't get me. Well, there are some negatives to shooting at an aircraft, if you want to say that. There are some positives, definitely. I mean, you take out the aircraft, possibly. But there are some negatives. And this is one of those things that you're just, either you're going to have to mark the team they shot or something, because there's some things that could happen. So, any team that shot at that aircraft on your... So, I shot these at that aircraft. I shot my anti-aircraft at the German turn, on the German's turn. It's my turn. I cannot move any of those that shot at the double. Dig in, shoot, or assault next turn. So, if these tanks shoot, they can't shoot next turn. I got ahead of myself. I did not say that. Just hold on for just a minute. The self-defense anti-aircraft, ignore this rule. Okay? So, AAMGs, you just go to town. Don't worry about this rule. So those self-defense, remember they have to be underneath the template. These self-defense, don't worry about this rule. They can shoot and they got no, what would be a penalty for shooting. Now, these guys are a different story. The anti-aircraft and the heavy anti-aircraft. If they shoot, so if these guys shoot, not those, if they shoot, let me go back to this. They can't move at the double. And this is on my turn now. So I shot the Germans on their turn. Because remember, you do it before they attack. So they can't move at the double. They can't dig in. So if these infantry had some anti-aircraft, they couldn't dig in unless it was self-defense. They cannot shoot or assault on my next turn. So that's where the negative part comes in. Positive is you could possibly take the aircraft out. The negatives is there's limitations on what you can do. And another limitation is that you can't shoot defensive fire on the German. So the Germans' turn, you're shooting. Since they shot at the aircraft, they cannot use their weapons in when they're being assaulted for self-defense. And also, this applies to the Shermans. That rule does apply to them also. That rule applies to anybody that shoots their anti-aircraft. They can't do self-defense shooting when they're being assaulted. Also, if they shoot, normally they have a top armor of 1. If they shoot their anti-aircraft, their top armor's 0. That's everybody. Top armor goes to 0. So that's a few penalties. So those few rules do apply to these, and that has to do with being assaulted and getting that self-defense firing going in, and also they become top armor 0. So now they're getting ready to shoot, and we're going to say that they are underneath the template because I want to get to explain about how they destroy the aircraft. And they're of course going to get shoot because they got line of sight and it's definitely within range of their weapons. And it's within range of these guys because they can shoot normally 16 at 8, 24. As long as they're within 24 and one of their team members from that platoon is under that template, they're going to be able to shoot. So, how many dice did they roll? This is where it gets a little bit tricky. It depends upon the type of weapon you're using. Now, if you are pinned down, your rate's going to reduce, as usual. So if you're able to take 3 shots and you're pinned down, you're going to go down to 1. If you have 4 shots, you're going down to 2, and so forth. So keep that in mind. But it's not your normal rate of fire because you would think, oh, well, that's a machine gun. It's going to get 3 dice. It's not quite like that. I'm going to start with heavy anti-aircraft guns. You're going to see like, oh, this is different. Heavy anti-aircraft guns, no matter their rate of fire, roll 1 die per gun that's shooting. So you get 2 guns shooting, you get 2 dice. Okay. Self-defense anti-aircraft guns, like on these tanks. Remember, they can only shoot if one of their teams in their platoon is under that template. Normally, they would get 3 dice. They're just like the heavy anti-aircraft. You get 1 per machine gun. So if they were shooting, 1 dice, 1 die, 1 die, so I'd get 3 dice for that whole platoon shooting at the aircraft. The one that is the exception is the ones that are anti-aircraft. They get their full rate of fire. So if we look here, I've got the M16 MGMC Quad 50 machine gun and the M15 CGMC 37mm gun. This one's going to get 6 dice. This one's going to get 4. So I can do 6 dice, and again, do different colors, and then 4 dice. So that you can tell which weapon hit, because that's going to be very, very important when you are trying to destroy the aircraft, because firepower is going to come into play. And that machine gun doesn't have as good firepower as this, so you definitely want to make sure you know which is which. So if we look at the situation, let's say this is a heavy anti-aircraft gun, they're going to get 1 die. Those 3 Shermans are self-defense anti-aircraft guns, and one of the guys was underneath the template, they're each going to get 1. Well, this 50 caliber quad gets 6 dice, and this 37mm gets 4 dice. So that's the kind of situation I'm looking at when I'm trying to shoot that aircraft down. I guess I should also explain that when do you get to destroy the aircraft, or shouldn't say destroy it. You could try to destroy the aircraft. The aircraft shoots in a shooting step. It's brought out in a movement step. It gets to shoot in the shooting step. It is the very last thing the opponent's going to shoot on their turn. So he has to go through all his tanks, all his infantry, all his artillery shooting. When he's done shooting all that and he shoots the aircraft, he can't shoot anything else. Once he starts using his aircraft to shoot things, his shooting phase or his shooting step's pretty well over. Because once this is done, there's no more shooting by them. Same thing applies to you. Once you start using your aircraft, you're saying, I'm getting done with my shooting step. So it's going to be the last thing shooting. Just before it shoots, you get to conduct your anti-aircraft fire. So I should have explained that. So that's when they're going to shoot, and that tells you when you can shoot at them. And it's optional. You don't have to shoot everything. You go, no, I don't want to shoot my Shermans at them. That's totally okay. It's up to you. But you have to decide who is shooting before you roll the dice. You can't go, oh, let's see if I get it with this one. Oh, I didn't make it. Well, let me try these guys. No. Decide who's shooting, and then you're going to roll the dice and take the results. So if you misjudge saying, oh, I really think the Shermans are going to be able to take them out, and decide not to do this, because you want these guys next turn to maybe take out some infantry or something, and you know you get to shoot your weapons with these again next turn, and you fail, that's the way it goes. So you have to decide which ones are going to shoot at the aircraft before you even roll. Now, what do you need to hit the aircraft? It depends upon your skill level. There's no skill level in the aircraft. So it depends upon your skill level. And it's at 3, 4, 5. Veteran, trained, conscript. Just like when you're shooting with the artillery, needing that 3, 4, 5, it's the same thing here. So whatever you need to hit with your artillery is what you need to hit with the aircraft. So we're going to say these guys are trained, so they're going to need 4s. So I'm going to take this heavy anti-aircraft off because I don't have the stats for it. So they're going to shoot, and they're going to need 4s. And I decided I'm just shooting with everything. Because remember, I have to decide before I roll. So I need 4s, and wow, they all hit. Oh, and this has a flight of, we're going to put a flight of 3. So it's got 3 aircraft. It's got to roll really, really well. I'm going to take this one, need 4s. I'm actually doing really well with my dice rolling. And it's probably the one I'll really mess up on. No, wow. I can't do this in a game. So, I barely even missed. Alright, so that's what I hit with. I could have probably left the Shermans out. Now, how do you destroy the aircraft? It's basically a firepower test. So we have the anti-aircraft AAMGs. And let me go back to my Shermans over here. So we're just going to say they're vanilla Shermans. And it's a 50 caliber AAMG. So if we go to vehicle weapons, 50 caliber, machine gun, 5. So I need to roll a 5 or higher on these dice to start destroying the aircraft. So let's see how we do. Or I guess how I do. You're not here. And I got a 4, 4, a 5. I am successful. I knocked down one of the planes. So if you had 3 models here, one of those models would be gone. This goes from a 3 to a 2. So now he's got 2 planes left. Well, this is a 50 caliber quad. It's got 5s also. Now I'm going to roll these dice. Needing a 5. That's cocked. Oh, I got 2. Well, guess what? There's only 2 left. They're all gone. Dead. The plane was destroyed. I got really, really lucky on that. Let me try this again. And I'm just not going to shoot these guys because they don't. There's some bad guys over here and they're going to assault in, so they want their top armor 1 to protect them. So we're going to go back to 6 dice. So again, I need 4s. I just can't miss. So this means that when I play a game, I'm going to not hit because I'm doing this in a demonstration. That's the way my dice work. Alright, and this one needs 4s. Oh, I'm missing one. Okay, so I only hit once. That's getting more average going there. Alright, so I know I need 5s or 6s, and I got 1 5. So I've knocked this down from 3 to 2 aircraft. Now this other one, let's see what this one is. This is anti-aircraft, and this is the 37. It's got a 4 plus. So I need a 4 on this one die that they hit with. A 5. So I've knocked down 1 more. It's gone from 2. It's actually went from 3. It went to 2. I destroyed 1 more. It's down to 1. Well, guess what? That aircraft gets to attack. I did not destroy all of the planes, but knocking down the 1 plane compared to 3 is going to help me tremendously. So it's really simple to shoot down an aircraft. You have to decide who's going to shoot. You roll your skill level, and remember, most weapons are going to get 1 die unless they are a true anti-aircraft, and it spells it out, anti-aircraft. It's not well, watch the heavy one too, heavy anti-aircraft. It gets 1 die. So they're the anti-aircraft are the only ones to get their full rate of fire. Everybody else drops to 1 die. And then you roll how many ever dice you're going to roll your skill level, pick up the dice that were successful, start making firepower tests. For each success, you knock down 1 plane. So if they only come in with 1 plane, and I only have my Shermans here, well, I'm going to need a 4. And now I start failing. Okay, I got 1 4. So that means I need a 5 or a 6 to take that plane out. And I got a 6. That means I destroyed that 1 plane. It's gone. So that's why sometimes just having 1 plane, it's pretty rough. You're probably, if they have any anti-aircraft out there, you're probably going to lose it. Not always, but you could. So that's how you destroy the aircraft. Now, there is one type of aircraft, And I've seen Russia have it, and it's called what's called a flying tank. And it'll say in its stat line, like, let me bring this up to aircraft here. It will say over here, notes flying tank. Of course, this one is not, but I know the Russia has one that says flying tank. What that means is that the firepower is one harder to destroy the aircraft. So this is normally 5s to do the firepower test. It's gone to 6s. This one was a 4, now it's 5s. Because the flying tank has a little better armor on it to help protect it, the crew and the engine and stuff like that. So keep that in mind about the flying tank. It's just one harder. Alright, so that's all I got for this one. Next video, we're going to talk about how you place the template on your target, if you need to range in on your target, and how you hit your target. So that's going to be the next video. And as always, have a good game.